Hey, this is Steve Goodner. I'm back with Emotionally Intelligent Living, Straight Talk with Steve. I promised you that the next one would be on self-regulation. We had done self-awareness the last time. So this time I want to focus on self-regulation and what is it? What does it mean? Well, I had a great chance to practice self-regulation Sunday afternoon when I usually play golf. It was supposed to be a beautiful day, temperatures lower than normal during the summer, all kinds of sunshine. And as I get up to the first tee, we have this thunderstorm coming out of nowhere, or maybe everywhere, that just crashed into us. We got a little bit down the first hole and decided, nope, not today. And I had to practice self-regulation. I look forward to my golf outing with my buddies every Sunday afternoon after church. And bottom line, it had been a couple of weeks since I had been out with them. So I was really looking forward to it. But okay, that's life, right? And that's kind of what I'm talking about when I talk about self-regulation. How do we manage our emotions? How do we navigate the emotions of other people to get the best potential outcomes or the best possible outcomes? And that only comes when we're thoughtful and consider how we want to respond instead of react. It's easy to react. And you've heard the term knee-jerk reaction. There's a good reason for that. Self-regulation is a critical element and competency of emotional intelligence. I want you to think about this. Where in your life do you have any pressure? Where in your life do you have any stress? Where in your life do you feel you're not up to the task? And so you have imposter syndrome, or you're anxious, you're worried. Where in your life are those stress points? And that is exactly the times that we need to practice self-regulation. If we don't do that, then whatever comes out is what comes out. And a lot of times our reactions are not the best. We regret them. We go back and wish we could change them later. So self-regulation is not suppressing emotions. You just pack it down and pack it down. Don't share it until the pressure exceeds the pressure limit and it explodes, probably at the wrong time. It also is not expressing every emotion that you have and just letting everybody have it all day long. It is navigating your emotions and the emotions of other people. Have you ever been triggered by somebody else? Have they ever triggered emotions in you? Now, sometimes those can be good. Love, friendship, those are good emotions that come out of love and friendship, right? But a lot of times they may be darker emotions that are more negative or non-productive, things like betrayal or disappointment or frustration or anger. And we could go on and on. As I've stated previously in other venues, there are over 34,000 different defined emotions. And obviously, a lot of those are very nuanced. But the reality is, we've got to build a way in our brains to not just allow our emotional reactions to run our lives. Because what happens at that point is whatever our autopilot has been, that's the kind of thing that's going to happen. And our autopilot comes out of habits we've created over time. Let me express kind of a little bit of the science behind what I'm talking about here. Our brains process emotions first. So you experience something, somebody says something, does something, you do something, whatever. You experience something, and first you're going to have emotions before it ever gets to the prefrontal cortex and your ability to process in a more logical, rational manner. Well, if you think about that, it kind of makes sense. But the problem with leaving it in the hands of our emotional brain without self-regulation is we tend to default into survival mode, which is fight, flight, or freeze. And there's a new one that they've added called appease. Just, okay, whatever you want. It's not worth it. I'm not going to worry about it. Self-regulation is absolutely critical in any role that demands that you interact with other people to achieve success, to achieve goals. Well, that's just about every role that I know. So it's sales, leadership, it's ownership, it's customer service, you name it. You can probably think of dozens of roles where we need to interact with other people. And frankly, I don't know that many roles where we don't need to interact with other people to be successful. And really, if you think about it, we're designed and created to be in community with other people. So what does that mean? It means we need to be available to other people, but available in an appropriate way. One of the keys to self-regulation is it actually creates in us greater and improved character, so that when people look at us, so say you're a leader and you're practicing self-regulation, what does that mean? Well, you're going to communicate more effectively. You're going to be able to navigate and resolve conflict in more effective ways. You're going to be able to take in input and feedback from others without getting personally triggered that leads to actions you'll regret later. We're all going to be triggered. It's what we do with it that's important. And that is the role of self-regulation. So think of it as maybe a filter or a set of filters that you put in place to help you make the best decisions, respond in the best way, so that you can get better outcomes. And that's what we're really looking for, is to get optimal outcomes through our ability to navigate our own emotions and the emotions of others. There's a couple of key sub-skills when it comes to self-regulation. And we've talked about one already, which is navigating emotions, right? It's how do we navigate our own emotions and those of others, especially when they're strong? Well, here's one way I know how to do it. When you're triggered with a strong emotion, and let's focus in on ones that could be emotions that would lead us to do things we would not intentionally want to do, that we might regret later, like anger, frustration, whatever that happens to be. The first thing you can do is a little practice I call name it to tame it, which is actually a reframing process in your mind that allows you to say, okay, I'm really angry right now. Well, two things. Number one, the first thing to think about is there's real science behind the old saying, count to 10 when you're mad, because the intensity of an emotion starts to diminish after about 6 seconds. Well, wait a minute. I'm still angry. I've been angry at this person all day long. Do you know why? Because you keep revisiting the experience. Every time you revisit the experience, you get triggered again. And it just builds and builds and builds. So you can actually increase your anger level over time if you keep replaying that video in your mind. That is another way self-regulation can help you. Choose not to do that. Choose to find a better way to move forward. So self-regulation and this practice of navigating emotions through naming it to tame it. Okay, I'm angry. What happens when I'm angry normally? How can I get a more intentional and a better outcome? What do I need to do? How can I not just fall into a habit that just continues this anger cycle? Another key sub skill of self-regulation is what we call apply consequential thinking. What is that? Well, think of running what if scenarios in your head, okay? If you say, okay, wait a minute, I can go this way, this is the likely outcome. But if I go this way, maybe this is the likely outcome. Or if I go this way, this is the likely outcome. What you're doing is you're giving your brain time to think through options and figure out, wait a minute, what's the better way to go here so I can get a more strategic outcome? I can be more intentional. I can show up more the way I want to show up, both for myself and for other people. So those sub skills of self-regulation, I think, are very important. And when we think about managing ourselves, and you hear all of these words out there, what I call gray words, that have very different meanings depending on who you are, your cultural upbringing, and all of that. I think let's get very precise here. Instead of saying things like, well, you just need to manage your emotions. Well, what does that mean? Let's use what we talked about today: navigating emotions, applying consequential thinking, practicing self-regulation to get to a better place. That's the place that we can then show up the way we want to more often. We can get more success and satisfaction out of life. And frankly, we're going to build stronger relationships, better connections with people. We're going to be able to build more trust with people. We're going to be able to increase our influence by connecting well with people and building trust, because we're limiting the damage that could come out of reacting instead of responding. So that may be a good place to start when you think of self-regulation. Am I reacting or am I responding? Did I count to 10? Or did I just immediately say whatever came to the top of my mind? I know for myself personally, if I just say what comes to the top of my mind, it's not always the best possible thing to say. And so I have learned over the years to self-regulate. And that it really becomes more about not the moment and what is happening to you in the moment. Who do you want to become? This is a pathway. Self-regulation is a tool that we use on our pathway in our journey to become the person we want to become. And I think most of us want to become our best selves. We want to operate at our highest level, to realize our full potential. That can only happen when we practice the skills of emotional intelligence, and specifically, that means self-regulation. I hope that was helpful today. We'll get more into the other competencies of emotional intelligence as we move forward, because I'll use those as a foundation for other things that I want to talk to you about in these series, in this series of emotionally intelligent living. I do ask for your comments and for your feedback. I would love to start a community that is focused on emotionally intelligent living. Have a great day.